Hey friends, today I wanted to share my experience with the healthcare system in Vietnam. As some of you probably know, I have been traveling throughout Asia for the past few months, and on my second to last country and my last city in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City, I had a health scare of my own, and so I wanted to talk to you guys about that and share my experience. But before I get into that, let me introduce myself. I'm Frances. I am a former HR professional who left corporate, took a 2-year career break, and just basically reinvented my life. And so on my channel, I talk about all things career break, travel, house sitting, and everything you need to find your freedom. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. So, like I said, I wanted to share my experience with the healthcare system in Vietnam after a recent health scare. But the other thing, before we get into that, I want to make sure I also tell you to stay till the end because I have a giveaway and I want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to get in on the giveaway. And so I got into Ho Chi Minh City on a Friday, and I was going to be meeting up with another Exodus Summit sister that was also in Ho Chi Minh City the following day. And we had scheduled to get together. And so that Saturday morning, I woke up and, started to get ready and said I need to take a shower. Now, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I travel, I always travel with shower slippers. Yeah, you go into hotels and Airbnbs and they're all supposed to be clean to a certain standard and all this and all that, but there's no way for you to really tell if that's really the case. So I take my shower slippers and I take them and I wear them in the shower when I'm taking a shower. But on this particular occasion, I forgot my shower slippers, or I should say I forgot to put them on. They were still in my suitcase. And by the time I remembered, I was already in the shower, partially soapy, wet. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let it slide for now. And let it slide is exactly what happened to me in that shower. That shower was tiled. I don't know about you guys, but I've never really seen a shower that the floor was tiled. I mean, like tile that you put on regular floors, but not in a shower, if that makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, so your girl was up and I could feel myself almost like in slow motion falling, like going up and like this, trying to get my, get a grip, but I couldn't get a grip because it was that slippery. And I went up and landed on my lower back and my butt. And let me tell you, I saw stars. I don't think I have felt any pain like that I don't even know how long. It was excruciating. And so there I was on the shower floor, just like in total pain and like freaking out, like what the hell just happened to me. The other thing that was scary for me was that I was alone, I didn't think that if I was screaming out in pain, it was, even though, yes, I was in pain, it wasn't like pain that I was like hollering. But I was like, oh my God, in pain. But if it was to the point where I had to scream out for help, I don't know that anybody would have heard me because of the way the building was. But luckily it didn't come to that. I slowly peeled myself off the floor, got up, wrapped a towel around myself, and I slowly walked from the shower to the bedroom. Once I got to the bedroom and I sat on the bed, I knew I would be okay because I then had access to my phone so I could call for help if I needed to. And that is when the tears just came and just washed over me. It was not just because of the pain, but, you know, that fear, like, oh my God, what the hell just happened to me? Something just happened to me. And so once I was able to compose myself, the first person that I reached out to was the Airbnb host. And I have to say that they were very responsive, not just in terms of what had happened to me, but in general. The customer service and everything, you know, if I asked for restaurant recommendations or where do I need to go to do X, Y, and Z, they were always on it. And in this particular instance as well, they sent me the two of the best international hospitals in the area for me to reach out to. It turns out one of them was in walking distance from where I was staying. And the second person I reached out to was my friend who was there, and I, you know, explained to her what had happened, and she was like, oh my God, do you need anything? How can I help you? Whatever. I was able to, once I had settled down and I started to feel better mentally, I took some Tylenol that I always travel with some kind of pain medication. And I just kind of sat still for a minute until I started to feel like I was going to be able to move or to go about my day. And after a while, I was able to go about my day. You know, obviously I wasn't moving the way that I would normally have moved. I was taking my time, moving gingerly, but I still went about my day. By the end of that afternoon, though, I started to feel like, okay, yeah, I don't think something isn't right. I'm not feeling like, you know, comfortable. I was starting to get very uncomfortable. And so I got back to the Airbnb. The host reached out to me. They were like, so did you get to see the doctor? And I said, I didn't go because I had taken some Tylenol and I started to feel better, but I'm going to go tomorrow, meaning Sunday. But one of the things that I didn't do was I didn't check to see the hours of operation. And it turns out that they were closed on Sunday. And so I was able to still go ahead and get on the website and register and let them know that I would be coming the following morning, which would be Monday morning, to be seen and stuff like that. And when I got there on Monday morning, it was seamless. They registered me. You know, they took my information, my name, my address, and they had me pay for the visit up front. And then they sent me to triage. I'm not sure what they call it, but you know, where they take your height, they take your weight, they take your blood pressure before you actually go to see the doctor. And once that all was taken care of, they took me to the doctor's office. The doctor's name was Dr. Wynn. He was just like amazing. That's the best word for him, because from the time I got into his office and the time I walked out the door when I was leaving, he stayed by my side. He was with me every step of the way. And yes, there was a bit of a language barrier with him, but this is where things like Google Translate comes in. And he did know English, but his English was not to the point where he could have a free-flowing conversation with me. So what we would do, if there was stuff that he didn't understand that I said, I would use my Google Translate app. If there were things that and vice versa, he would use Google Translate if he couldn't articulate something well in English, and it worked fine. And so I got into his office, he examined me, he had me do different things to see the level of, you know, pain that I was in and how much movement I could actually make. And then he ordered x-rays. And before I could see the radiologist to get the x-ray done, I had to pay for that in advance. So I paid for that. And he walked me over to radiology, and he told the radiologist exactly what he was ordering and the way he wanted it and all that. And he stayed with them while it was being done. And when I got out of there, he was there waiting for me, took me back to his office, explained to me what he had ordered, talked to me a little bit more about previous injuries. And that's one of the things, I think one of the reasons why I was having so much issue was because I had a previous back injury, and this just kind of, brought it back full force. I will say that I am prone to falling. So this second fall just kind of woke up the first one that I had before. And so luckily, once the x-rays came back and he went over it with me, luckily there was no damage or major damage of anything. It was just, I was really, really sore. And so he prescribed a couple of meds to me. And then he took me to the pharmacy. We went to the pharmacy. He told the pharmacist exactly what he was ordering for me. He waited again with me, and he said, he explained it again to me. Oh, let me back up. One of my concerns was that where I was staying, I was like on the 3rd floor, and there was no elevator. And so he didn't want me to lift anything, and he didn't want me to climb any stairs. And I was like, well, unfortunately, the place that I'm staying in has stairs, so I'm going to have to move. And he said, well, I will write a note to the place that you're staying and explain to them why you have to move out in case they give you a hard time. Now, I wasn't too concerned that I wouldn't be able to find a place, but I was concerned that they would not be, willing to break the, I don't want to say lease, but, to cancel. And so he wrote a note to them and explained to them, they already knew that I had fallen, so it wasn't like I was making it up. And told them that he didn't want me to climb any stairs, and he understands that I'm on the 3rd floor and there's no elevator, and so I need to move out of there and find someplace else. So I thought that was really nice of him. And they were very amenable to it. I didn't even have to give them the note. I just basically told them that this is what he said, and I have to find another place to stay because I can't climb the stairs and all that. Anyway, that worked out, and I found, my friend helped me find a new place, and I was able to find a place with an elevator, and so that whole thing worked out. So anyway, he told me that he wanted to see me back in a week. Of course, when you start to feel a little better, you're like, oh, I don't need to go back, so I didn't go back. And a couple of days later, I still wasn't feeling like I was getting better. Once I started to go about my day, once I got up, I was fine. But getting up was really difficult because, think about it, you're asleep and you're in a set position for X amount of hours throughout the night. And then you have this back injury problem, whatever. Then you try to get up. So it's like really uncomfortable and really difficult. So I said, you know what, let me go back. I need to go back and let him know what's been happening. And so I did go back. It happens that he wasn't there that day, but his colleague was. And he saw me. His English was a lot better, so we didn't really have to rely on Google Translate as much this time. And again, he examined me. He had me do, similar things to see if, how much I could bend, if I could bend and all that. He looked at the x-rays again, and he basically agreed with Dr. Nguyen, and he said, but I will change one of the medications and see, and I think this would be better for you. And again, he said, let us know in a week how you're doing. And by the 3rd or 4th day, I was like back to normal, almost like I would say 95% back to normal. I started to feel, like myself again. And by then, that following week that went by, it was about time for me to leave. and move on. And I get a text, no, an email from Dr. Wen saying, hey, how are you? I'm checking to see how you were feeling. Is everything going okay? And stuff like that. And I was like, wow, okay, it's different. And so I explained to him that I was leaving the next day and that I would say I was 95% better and I was feeling a lot better. It was easier for me to get up in the mornings and, moving around, no real issues or anything like that. And so, and his reply to me was, okay, well, you have an old injury that was basically awakened because of this one. You're going to need to get a lot of rest in terms of not a lot of, strain and up and down on your back. Continue to take the medication if you need it for pain. And I'm going to check on you again next week. Yeah, even though I'm not going to be in the country, I'm leaving the country. And he was like, yeah, I'm still going to check on you. So I thought that was really great as well. And so this is just one example of the things that can happen while you're on a career break. And I know it's a big concern for people, for Black women, healthcare in general. A lot of people move or travel for healthcare. But because we have been conditioned to what healthcare system is like in the US, we get anxious about it, and understandably so. I will say that one of the biggest questions is obviously the cost. What is the cost like for healthcare in other countries? And so this is where my giveaway comes in. I created the Unapologetic Rest. It's a career break guide for Black women. And in my guide, I talk about things like this and all the phases of a career break and, getting ready for one, decluttering your home. What are you going to do with all your stuff? How do you talk to your family? How do you talk to your job? What are you going to do about your job? Getting your money right. What am I going to do on this break? What am I going to do when this break is over? All of it. It's like 35 pages of all the information and all the things that you need to know. And so I'm going to be giving away a copy of this guide to the first person that can tell me in the comments what was the total of my visits, including, and this is everything that was included in the doctor's visit, the x-rays, and the medications. Put in the comments what you think I paid for all that, for my visits, my x-rays, my medications. And whoever comes the closest, I'm going to send you a copy of my guide, a free copy. But I also want to tell you that I do have a free resource that anybody can get. It's a free travel and career break resources, and it's linked below along with all my other resources. So in conclusion, don't forget to share this channel with a Black woman in your life who needs to find her freedom. And I want to see you guys on the next one. Take care.